Hi, welcome to Moina Bass Fishes, and I am Jim Moina. I've been practicing for the Toyota Series tournament here on Sam Rayburn for the last few days. There's unlimited practice in these tournaments, so I've had a lot of fun going out there every day and just exploring around and actually getting a chance to experiment a little bit and just see what I can learn out here. Um, I've got a lot of practice with my active target. I haven't used it much this year for the types of tournaments we've that have been fishing, but this one there will be a lot of fish caught with forward-facing sonar in this tournament. But there'll be a lot of shallow fish caught as well because the water is up in the bushes. So those guys that like to fish that shallow, skinny water, they are loving this water level right now. So, but yeah, so far, I really don't feel like I've found the winning pattern. What coming into this, what I figured what I want to do is fish deeper stuff. The guy that seems to do really well every time in May is Keith Combs. He's a Bassmaster Elite angler, but he fishes a lot. Anytime there's a big tournament out here on Rayburn, he'll try to get in it, especially this time of year because he's always a threat to win. And he does it by throwing deep crankbaits. So I've been throwing a lot of deep crankbaits, and apparently I'm not picking the right places to throw them because I'm having very, very little success with that. They should be out there. If I go shallow and fish, I catch the males, and of course the males are the small ones. So I'm catching fish that are anywhere from like 13 to 16 inches. Getting a good helping of those, but not catching the quality fish up there. At least where I've been fishing and how I've been fishing, it's just not happening. So I got to figure out where. So it tells me that the females have to be out deeper, but man, I have fished a ton of brush piles, and I've come up with just a handful of 2-pounders out there on them brush piles. So I don't know what the deal is. I did catch a 6-pounder one day of practice and caught another one about 5 on another day. So that's encouraging, but it's just sporadic. I haven't caught many other fish that are quality. Just a lot of 1.5 to 2.5 pounders is what it amounts to. So I did find one massive school of largemouths one evening, but they were small. They were mixed in with the hybrid bass out here. The hybrid bass is the cross between the white bass and striper. I think or maybe they were just white bass. They seem kind of high. I don't know. I guess I haven't looked at them that close, but I think they're hybrids. That's what people are calling them here anyways. So, yeah, caught a ton of largemouths out of that school, but they're all little. The biggest one was maybe like 2 pounds. And what was really interesting is I found this school of fish late in the day, maybe a half hour left before sundown, and they were all compacted in one area in about 15 foot of water on this piece of structure, and nothing was there. There was no brush pile, there was no rock, there was nothing there. I don't know why they were sitting there, but there was a lot of fish there. But what was really interesting, and I've noticed this every night, just in general, but as the sun got lower and lower, those fish started peeling out of that sweet spot. They started wandering off laterally and wandering off, moving up in the water column. And that's one thing that the active target will show you here is how many fish just when it's sunny, you don't see nearly as many fish on your active target. But when that sun hits the horizon in the evening, all of a sudden your screen will just be lit up constantly with fish just swimming. They must come up off the bottom and just suspended, and they're swimming around. I don't know if they're hunting or what. And I'm not talking only bass. I'm just talking every fish in the lake is just up off the bottom and swimming around. So, and I've noticed that, like even back home in Minnesota on natural lakes, a lot of times the same thing happens. A lot of fish start getting off the bottom and start suspending under low light situations such as sundown. So that's kind of interesting to see. The crappie bite is insane out here. The active target will lead you right to these crappies, and because they're right in the apparently there's a lot of crappie fishing out here, and it's a really good crappie lake. So people sink a lot of brush, and these crappies just pile into that brush. I mean, you'll have like 40 crappies in one brush pile. It's really cool. And there's some quality crappies here as well. So yeah, I can catch plenty of crappies out of brush piles, but not catching the largemouths very good out of them at all. So crappies are biting. And you know what else biting? The catfish are biting, especially one that was like, I caught a flathead. There's so many, I can't think of what do they call them, tabby cats or lock looses or lopawapsos or mud cats. There's a bunch of names for them things, flatheads. But yeah, it was like a 30 to 40 pound flathead that I caught on an 8-pound test, and it was really cool. So I hooked this fish, and I mean, after a few seconds, I knew it wasn't a bass. Ooh, excuse me, I'm tired. It's after 10 o'clock. I gotta get to sleep. But anyways, it was after, or no, let me back up. So I hooked this flathead on a Nico rig, and I'm fighting it. It's so fine, and I'm barely moving this thing. I mean, barely. I've only got 8-pound test, and I've really got the rod bent over hard on it, and I can't do nothing with it. So then I start. So I get on my trolling motor so I can rotate my active target transducer around and try to spot the fish. And this is after like 5 minutes, and he's still on the bottom. I finally find him, and he's just. I really got to lean on this thing to the point where the line's ready to break just to get him slightly off the bottom so I can see him on the active target. And so this fight went on, and so finally I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to have to drag this thing to shore, because if I can't get him off the bottom, well, maybe I can get the bottom closer to me. So, because fortunately I was close to shore, and so I just trolling motored slowly towards shore, and the fish just kind of came with me, because I'd been playing them out in deeper water, like 20 foot of water, for quite a while, and so I kind of wore him out, but I still couldn't get him off the bottom. So then I started just dragging him towards shore, and he didn't really put up much resistance. He just came right with me, and so I got the boat right up on shore and continued to fight this thing, and got the fish up to the surface right next to the boat, and was able to grab them and unhook my bait and let them go. So that was really cool. A lot of fun. A lot of catfishing, big ones, big catfish. And that's my second biggest catfish out of Sam Rayburn ever. I literally caught one that was probably double the size of this one or more many years ago. Many years ago. I hooked that one many years ago in literally 3 foot of water, and it took me like 20-25 minutes to get him off the bottom in 3 foot of water with that was with 8-pound tests back then. Probably, I don't know what the line class world record is for flathead catfish for 8-pound tests, but I mean, it was just the head of the catfish almost did not even fit in the net. it was huge. So, what else we got to say about fishing so far? I don't know. It's I just feel like Keith Combs and his deep cranking. I just know there's got to be a couple places out here where that's working right now. And I go forever without catching anything when I'm searching for that stuff. Whereas I can go up in shallow water and at least catch little ones at a steady rate, which is fun. But do I want to have fun, or do I want to have a lot of fun and win this tournament? I want to have a lot of fun and win it. That's what I got to do. So, how many days of practice we got left? We've got, today's Mother's Day, so we got 3 days, 2.5 days left of practice. We've got Monday, Tuesday, then half a day Wednesday, and then the meeting on Wednesday. So, I don't know, tomorrow again, I think I'll spend more time just out searching deep water, trying to find some groups of fish out there, some quality fish. The female's got to be somewhere. Maybe way up the lake. Maybe that's a place to get in some dirty water. A guy can get into some females up there, maybe. I don't really know. I just know I'm struggling, and I don't like struggling, but so be it. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, this lake's this is a really good lake to work on your forward-facing sonar fishing, because you have you got all these. There's always fish on your screen, and after working at it for a few days, you kind of get an idea as to what you're throwing at. If you're brand new with forward-facing sonar and you don't know what's what, you'll be seeing all these fish constantly, and you'll be throwing at every one of them because you don't know what one's a bass and what one isn't. But after a while, you do get the hang of what's not a bass. Now, for me, there's still a lot of uncertainty regarding certain images on the screen. Like sometimes the catfish, not a 40-pound catfish, but like a 3-pound catfish, they almost appear very similar to me. They appear similar to a bass. So, because I've thrown at some of these marks on the screen, and I'll bring in like a 3-pound catfish instead of a bass. So that I don't really have that science down too well, but the really obvious stuff, I've got it down to where I don't need to throw at it anymore. Like, for example, this is really interesting. I don't know what species of fish this is, but you'll see like this really, really big image on the screen, and there'll be 2 of them. Seems like there's almost always 2 of these fish, and they're just huge marks on the graph, and they suspend, and they're swimming single file. There'll be one leading the way, and the other one will be trailing. And I've seen it time and time and time again out here. You don't see like 4 or 5 of these things together. You don't see one of them. They're always paired together. And I'm just really curious as to what those could be. The other thing you'll see is you'll see these smaller fish, or you'll see a whole bunch of these marks just racing along the bottom, like a whole school of racing. I think those are little white bass or hybrids, and sometimes you can get one of those to bite to give it away, and that's kind of what it tends to be. course, you see baitfish, shad schools out here in big numbers, and you see the crappies and the treetops in big numbers. The crappies kind of look like a bass as well, though. From what I can, from what I've seen, a bass and a crappie, excuse me, give off similar signals. So that's confusing. And then you'll see there'll be some fish swimming out there that give off a fuzzy signal. So I know that those aren't bass, so I quit throwing at the fuzzy signals. And the really big, then I think I've gotten into where I'm guessing they might have been schools of carp, because the signals will be really big and there'll be like 8 or 9 of them. And of course, they don't react to any bait you throw at them. So I'm assuming those are carp. And then there's, I'm guessing this might be gar that I'm seeing, because I'll see one large mark swimming, and then it'll be trailed by like 2 or 3 like smaller marks. So gar, when they spawn, the female's quite a bit bigger than the males. I mean, it can be way bigger, and then the males are smaller, and there'll be multiple males with one female that's in heat. So that's what could be what that might be what I'm seeing with the one big mark and a couple smaller marks behind it. But I don't know that for sure, but that would make sense though, because the gar are late spawners. They spawn when the water's warmer. So I haven't really, I'm pretty sure the largemouth spawn is over with here on this lake. That's what I'm counting on anyways. It sure seems like it to me. As far as the shad spawn should be happening, but I haven't really seen it. Of course, I haven't been on the water at daylight either. I've been, sunrise, first daylight. I've been sleeping in, getting on the water. Well, today I was on the water by like 7:15, maybe something like that. But prior to that, it's generally been about 8 o'clock. And then fishing all the way till sundown and slightly beyond sundown. So I do put in my time, that's for sure. But yeah, the shad spawn, I haven't seen that. The weather was not good today. I've had a lot of wind out here the whole time, just about. And then today was a day where you had to come off the lake due to a thunderstorm. So I seen it coming. I was on the wind switched around, and I was on the windy side of the lake, so I headed back to the ramp at a place called Castle Boykin. And and of course it was typical for me. I'm 5 minutes late, meaning had I been there 5 minutes sooner, I could have got the boat loaded and the boat on the trailer before the massive amounts of rain hit. But no, I'm 5 minutes too late. So as soon as I tie my boat off at the dock and start walking to my truck, the downpour just lets loose on me. So by the time I run back out to the boat and drive out of the boat trailer, I'm soaked. And over my lifetime, I can't tell you how many times that's happened where I'm just 5 minutes too late. And you think I would know by now, being that it's happened so many times. So anyways, yeah, so that was probably like at about 2:30 or so. So then I spent about 2.5 hours, maybe slightly longer, just sitting in my truck, dozed off a little bit, and just sitting there and waiting for the weather to clear, because we had lightning. And so it was probably around 5 o'clock, maybe a little bit after, I got back on the lake, and went out, caught a few more fish. Nothing to write home about. Experienced one of the most unique lightning and thunder sounds I've ever heard out of a lightning bolt. And there was just, I was back on the water, and there was just a stray lightning sound just every like 10, 15 minutes. And this one was, the bulk of the storm was by us, and what was left was just kind of the remnants overhead. And it was just like really high clouds with like slightly drizzly rain. I mean, really slightly drizzly rain coming from them, but very high clouds. And this lightning bolt, which was super bright for daylight hours, came out of this high cloud. And it had the strangest freaking thunder sound I have ever heard. I don't even know how to describe it. But wow, it was super eerie, super scary. I mean, it was just, the roar it had was just different. And it didn't like rumble. It was just like a weird sound. It was like a totally different lightning bolt, like I've never heard before. Eerie, which had me thinking, I mean, literally, it's like, I seriously was about to go in. I'm like, okay, give it 5 more minutes, and that was the last lightning bolt I heard. The rest of the evening. Spooky lightning bolt. So yeah, well, there's also hydrilla, in this lake. So I keep thinking maybe I need to channel my my inner wigglewort, magwort bite, because that's what we used to do in Minnetonka. Take the magwort and early summer, late post spawn, early summer. This fish out there would school up in the milfoil, and the magwort was always a great way to trigger a school. So I was thinking, well, maybe I could do that out here. And I have cranked a lot of grass out here and just catching small fish out of the grass. I'm catching small fish out of the grass. I'm catching small fish out of the inside weed lines. I'm barely catching anything out of the deep brush piles, but when I do, it's a small one. There's a kid out here that every time he enters a tournament, he brings in 30 pounds. He's some 18-year-old. I was listening to a podcast on YouTube called Tackle Talk Live, and they kind of recount all the tournaments here in East Texas, and Rayburn's a major player in their podcast, and they were talking about this 18-year-old kid who's just been crushing it. And then they had the kid on. They interviewed him, and boy, it just sounds simple. I mean, how you get, 30 pounds. That means you're catching, you're on the females. You are on them. You got them dialed in. And I sure don't. But anyways, that's enough for this video tonight. Thanks for watching, and we will be back with another video in the next day or two. Over.